Hi guys, welcome back to Semajical Pitch, the show where I pitch hypothetically what I would like to see happen now beyond the Harry Potter TV series into spin-off territory. And phase 5 of what I would like to see is here now. And this will cover from the Founders up to the Marauders. So, let's get on with the first project in this phase, which will be the Founders. Now, this will actually be a mini-series detailing the founding of Hogwarts by its 4 founders, the greatest wizards of the age: Godric Gryffindor, Rowena Ravenclaw, Salazar Slytherin, and Helga Hufflepuff. And it will detail the founding of Hogwarts and the first generation of students to ever pass through the school. And the way I've got it planned out, the way I've got it sort of planned out in my head would be episode 1 would be the first meeting of the 4 founders, and then coming Rowena Ravenclaw pitching them the idea for a wizarding school based upon a vision she had of a warty hog in the Scottish Highlands and a castle hidden away from the prying eyes of the Muggles. And so they build the school in the Scottish Highlands and they name it per Rowena Ravenclaw's vision, Hogwarts. And they each found a house with certain qualities that they're looking for. Gryffindor won't accept any cowards into his house. Slytherin won't accept any mudbloods into his house. Rowena Ravenclaw will only accept the wise and the smart ones. And Helga Hufflepuff isn't so picky and choosy. She'll just accept anyone into her house, regardless of their background or their talents. And so the school is opened and the first students are invited and they join the school. And these students include Merlin, who is one of Slytherin's hand-picked students. Yes, before the sorting hat, the founders just hand-picked their students for their houses. And so episode 1 will then go into their first day as teachers at the school as well. And the cliffhanger at the end will tease the rift between Gryffindor and Slytherin and the other founders about who should be allowed to join Hogwarts. So no, the first students actually haven't started yet at this point. This is when they actually start to have their discussion on who they should allow into the school. So episode 2 will start that, and Gryffindor and Slytherin will fall out over it. Because a little bit of Harry Potter lore that you don't know, that you might not know, is that Gryffindor and Slytherin were best friends before this happened. So, and the disagreement is amongst all 4 founders. And it is at this point where they actually also come to decide how students should be sorted when they're gone. And episode 2 ends with Salazar Slytherin leaving Hogwarts after their rift between them. And this is when we head into episode 3 with the establishment of the Chamber of Secrets and the concealment of the basilisk, as well as the founders enchanting Gryffindor's old hat to be the independent adjudicator as to which students go into which house from when they all leave and are no longer around. Now, also, after all of that, the first students to pass through the school are now there. And this episode will lead into Rowena Ravenclaw's treachery of her mother, well, Helena Ravenclaw's treachery of her mother, getting the diadem stolen and running off into the mountains of Albania. And that leads into our cliffhanger, the Baron going to search for her as Rowena is on her deathbed. And the last episode, number 4, would be the aftermath of him finding Helena and her refusing to come back to the school with him. And so, of course, we know he kills her and then kills himself out of the shame of what he's done. And that is the origin of the Grey Lady and the Bloody Baron. Ghosts of Gryffindor and... ghosts of Slytherin and Ravenclaw houses respectively. Now, the series itself actually ends with a time jump to the last days of the other founders of the school. They retire, leaving the school in the hands of the next generation of teachers, and it ends with them passing away. And so that is how I would do, and that's my pitch for the Founders miniseries. Coming up next, want a game of Quidditch, anyone? Quidditch Through the Ages will be a mini-series detailing the origins of Quidditch, the most popular sport in the wizarding world. 6 tall goalposts, 4 flying balls, and 14 players on broomsticks. And how I'd actually imagine this is as a 3-part mini-series, each detailing an era. Now, it will open during a Quidditch World Cup match, and one of the commentators then goes into the history of the sport itself, and that's where we flash back to the humble beginnings of the sport in the 11th century. And the first episode basically takes us through the foundation of the sport and how they used to play it, and all the different iterations before, and all the different iterations and names it goes under. And this would include the introduction of a golden snidget into the game. And the player positions, now they were very different in the early days of the game though. So we start with the foundation of the sport in the 11th century. And after the opening credits, we jump ahead to the 12th century where we see the first game being played between Puddlemere United. Yeah, so an actual professional game being played. And the Kenmare Kestrel, shall we say, if they were established around that time. And episode 1 ends with an well, we don't even know which team actually won that. So it's just a game then. It's not a world. And we end the episode with the winner of that of that game being undetermined. In episode 2, we jump ahead to the 15th century. So quite a few hundred years have passed since what we last saw. And this is actually the time when Quidditch started becoming the sport it is now. So I say we jump ahead to the 15th century. We start in the 13th for the pre-title sequence. And this is when the beginnings of Quidditch as we know it actually started. With Bowman Wright inventing the golden snitch to replace the golden snidget, and the player positions becoming what they are now. And the overall look of the game. Before we head into the 15th century, where things are just shaping up, and two Hogwarts teams, Gryffindor and Slytherin, are about to play each other for the first time in that school year. And let's just say the match is brutal and no one knows who wins. Yes, so it's pretty up in the air. Because then we head into the third act of the episode, where we skip ahead to the training session for the next match. Before a time jump to the 17th century. And that's where this episode ends now. Episode 3, the final episode of this miniseries, starts in the 17th century with an end-of-year Quidditch match between Gryffindor and Ravenclaw, the deciding match. And we actually open the episode in the middle of that game, the Quidditch Championship game of Hogwarts during that summer term. And it is looking pretty clear who's going to end up winning. Only it's not Gryffindor. Before the clarity then sinks away, and we end the series open-ended on which team wins. Ravenclaw, by the way. So not open-ended then. We end with Ravenclaw winning, and then we get the 200-year skip. That's only into the 19th century. We get the 300-year skip into the 20th century. Tying it into Harry Potter's first match at Hogwarts. So that's where Quidditch Through the Ages is going to end, and it very ends back at the Quidditch World Cup with the commentator ending the history lesson. Wow. So what's coming up next then for this Phase 5 pitch? Well, we're going to see some beasts, and they're going to be fantastic. Wow. Okay, so we now reach Fantastic Beasts and where to find them, and how I would pitch the story to go. And surprise, surprise, guys, nothing changes. It will play out exactly the same as the film does in the real world, except it'd be part of this Wizarding World franchise. So it will still be 1926 in New York, and Newt Scamander, still played by Eddie Redmayne, by the way, as I would pitch this, arrives in New York to study fantastic beasts when one of them escapes from his magic suitcase and he has to go and capture it. And this is where he bumps into Jacob. Yes, he will still be there. Jacob Kowalski, who he teams up with. And later Queenie, who he also teams up with. And basically, it'll play out exactly the same, almost exactly the same as the real film, with Grindelwald still being the villain. Only this is where we're going to have a difference in who the actor's revealed to be. Okay. Because after all, Grindelwald in the actual films, in the actual story, is an Eastern European wizard. Not an American, not a Brit. So, it's going to be revealed to be Mads Michelson, an actual Eastern European wizard. So, actor, sorry. So I feel if he's Mads Michelson from the start, then no tragedy occurring in the film would happen. But this would be the only film to bear the Fantastic Beasts title in this version of the franchise. Because obviously Secrets of Dumbledore and Crimes of Grindelwald are films in a different phase. Look back 2 episodes to find out. So the film would end in pretty much the same way. Everyone in America being obliviated, so they won't remember what they've just witnessed. And that then leads us nicely into the 4th and final project for this phase, which is going to be The Marauders. And this will be a TV series detailing the events of the 1970s at Hogwarts, with the Marauders as the main characters, the Snape and the Marauders. And it will detail them first meeting on the Hogwarts Express and becoming friends, and the enmity between them and Snape starting. So, but it won't be a 7-season long series. Oh, no, 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 no. The way I'm going to pitch it, it's going to be a 5-season long series. And this is how I plan on that happening. Okay, season 1 will be 10 episodes long, with each episode being 45 minutes. And the first episode will actually be the prologue to the series, with them all starting Hogwarts for the first time and getting sorted into their houses, which, as we know, Sirius, James, Peter, Remus and Lily all end up in Gryffindor and Snape in Slytherin. And after the sorting, we're going to skip ahead a year to the rest of the Marauders learning that Remus Lupin is in fact a werewolf, and learning the complex spells necessary to become Animagi to make his transformations more bearable. And of course, Severus Snape is going to be eavesdropping on them doing this, leading to that prank being pulled on him by Sirius that James has to rush in and save him from. Ah, that's not a year later. That's a few years after this, so scratch that. Episode 1 ends with them becoming Animagi, and the rest of the season will be detailing their first adventures together as the Marauders. Ending the season on a time jump of 2 years into their 4th year. Season 2 will then be them in their 4th year at Hogwarts, causing all the mischief wherever they go, and Professor Snape still trying to catch them out in the act of doing something wrong. And it'll be 10 episodes, 45 minutes in length again. Sirius and James always ending up in detention. The season will end with with Remus Lupin receiving his prefect's letter and the badge that comes with it. Because then season 3 will be them going through their 5th year, which is the culmination of a lot of the bullying of Professor Snape, him calling Lily a mudblood for trying to stick up for him, Sirius pranking Severus into going to the Shrieking Shack after Lupin has transformed into a werewolf, and James having to pull him back to rescue him, which he does not appreciate. And of course the season will end with them sitting their owl exams. Okay, now season 4 is going to skip ahead 2 years. So this is them in their 7th year. They're going through their OWL year here. James is now head boy alongside a head girl, Lily, and he's matured quite a lot since this, and this is what gets Lily to notice, and they start dating in this season. And the year is seen going by quite nicely. Not for Snape, of course. And the year ends with them sitting their new exams and graduating from Hogwarts. With them going their separate ways, Snape becomes a Death Eater. Peter Pettigrew takes on a double agent role as a Death Eater and a member of the Order of the Phoenix. Not straight away, though. Because in Season 5, we now skip ahead to them in the Order of the Phoenix, learning that Voldemort's coming after them, and James and Lily going into hiding. And this series will end in much the same way the Voldemort series, Darkness Falls, would. James and Lily dying, leaving Harry an orphan with a scar on his forehead, setting up the main series. But from their perspective, so the series there would have to end with Lily dying to protect Harry. And pretty much that is my pitch for a Marauders series. And the end of this episode of Semajical Pitch. Now guys, I'm going to take a break from pitching Harry Potter projects for a while to pitch something else in the next episode. If you have any ideas of what you'd like to see me put in pitches for next, let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, you'll have to wait and see what my next pitches are for. But until then guys, if you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching and have a magical time.